Should I buy Kingdoms of Amalur? Should I buy it? Should I buy it? Well, I'm here to tell you my gamer opinion on this game. Nobody's paying me to say shit. Nobody is telling me what to say. I've put almost 230 hours into Kingdoms of Amalur, okay? And that does not sway my decision. It does not make me not point out critical things that are wrong with this game. It's just, I'm a gamer. That's what I do. I love to play games. Amalur hooked me. I'm on my second playthrough right now. And basically this is my gamer review of it. If you are deciding whether you wish to purchase Kingdoms of Amalur, which currently is $60 USD, I hope this review helps you out in your informative decision, because if you look across the internet, you're going to see a ton of mixed review on this game. Some from gamers, some from big corporations, some from companies, everything like that. But before we get into the review, we're going to talk about March 20th. Because March 20th, The Legend of Dead Kell DLC comes out, which adds an in-game island called Gallows End. And basically, what this means is Amalur is getting its first content besides the weapons and armor pack DLC for the game. It adds 15% of in-game territory for Kingdoms of Amalur on this little island. And it has a new main quest, which adds multiple dungeons, new characters, and new items. Supposedly there's tons of new items, as well as if you do a little bit of research around Steam, you will come up with 11 new achievements. And we're going to go over those right now. I've written them down right here, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. I'm just reading them out. So basically what we have, if you research Steam under the achievements for Kingdoms of Amalur, you're going to find Manic Pixie Dream Elf, Beam Me Up, Mistaken Identity, I Regret Nothing, We Built This City, Murder Most Foul. There's an achievement for killing chickens. Who can't see that coming? Message in a Bottle, Keep on Rising, Give Her a Hand, Exterminator, and The Harder They Fall. Those are the 11 achievements that are showing up on Steam, which are currently unavailable and at 0% for everybody. So yeah, I've almost put 230 hours into Kingdoms of Amalur, and that is across two basically save files. I have two characters. One has completed the game, and the other one is starting the story again on hard. So basically what that means is, and I have 48 of 50 achievements currently. My first time through I played on normal, and I also have the Persuasion achievement is eluding me, because apparently it's one of the hardest ones to get. If I look here on Steam, my cat is going apeshit if you guys paid attention back here. Yeah, 3.4% have achieved the Wink and the Smile, which is 50 persuasion attempts. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to show you a picture right now. This is a picture of my Raptr, and I will say this, for all you guys out there that have Raptr and you're looking at it, and it shows now your progress. If you guys are looking to become the #1 player in the world, at least on Raptr, which tons of people use Raptr, but the #1 player on Raptr, you're going to have to beat this. That's right. I have achieved #1 player of Kingdoms of Amalur on Raptr. It took a lot out of me. And of course I'm still playing it, so I'm still building and everything like that. But yeah, so that's what you're aiming for. Now I was putting as much time into this game as I have put into this game. I have picked out tons of things that needs improving, as well as things that are very positive about this game. Now you hear things all over the internet about what's wrong with this game. People compare it to Skyrim. People compare it to everything under the sun. The thing is, basically, you can't do that with this type of game. You have to accept the fact that there is more than one game than Skyrim. Okay, um, while it follows the same trajectory as far as what style of game it is and things of that nature, yeah, it is very similar to Skyrim. However, I feel that there is room for tons of these types of games, and every genre has different types and styles of the same ilk. So it's very welcome. Kingdoms of Amalur was something that I pre-ordered. I was very excited about it. I made the mistake because, like I said before, I didn't buy Skyrim because I knew I would get heavily addicted to it, and it happened with Kingdoms of Amalur. It's like, I like the art style of it. I really do. I think it meshes really well with the style of the story and everything like that. It feels more fantasy to me, I guess, in a game like Skyrim does, because Skyrim is more realistic. I don't know. I'm sure if I played Skyrim, I would thoroughly enjoy Skyrim, but on a different level. You understand what I'm saying with this? Kings of Amalur, I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I knew it was going to be a fun game. I knew it, no matter what. I played the demo. The demo kind of sucked, honestly. If you play the demo and you instantly say, I'm not buying this game because this demo is just bleh, give the game a chance, because honestly, the demo is a shadow compared to what the game is, okay? So let's get into the positive things that maybe a lot of people don't talk about. And I've written this all down in my my ledger, because honestly, during my time playing this, I forget things and I write down things because I knew I wanted to review this game. I just didn't want to make a rash review like you do see on some of the bigger channels. They play it for maybe 10-15 hours, and then they all of a sudden are experts on the game, and they say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do a review on this, and it's basically what they say, and people go off of that. And honestly, I've heard things like the story's not there, the story sucks, and blah blah blah, this and that. Honestly, the story is worthwhile if you give it a chance. The story is long, it's involving, it is a pretty good story. Honestly, it is. I found parts of the story where it just took me by surprise. There was a clincher, and I'm not going to ruin anything for you guys. I'm not going to do any spoilers, okay? But I will say that the story will surprise, shock. It will hit you on emotional levels here and there. There are loose ends in the story. There are areas of the story that could be better. But any game with a deep, involved story in it, people are going to have different outcomes and different viewpoints of how the story should be told. Honestly, on a critical scale, the story I found was very worthwhile. The story was enjoyable. I enjoyed every minute of the story, and personally, that was a huge plus for me. Let me get rid of this. You guys probably can notice that there's some gameplay up here. Every once in a while, I'm going to take in with some gameplay. It's just, time from like older time to current time of my first character. Let's get right down to brass tacks. Okay, the world is beautiful. The world is designed, and it's just meticulous in what they pull off. Graphically, yeah, it's not as impressive as Skyrim. Personally, you have to appreciate the art style, because the art style is very wowish. It's very on the cartoony side in certain areas. But I mean, the character design and just the enemy design is very solid. Although the enemies do repeat themselves quite a bit, you will fight tons of trolls, you will fight tons of ettins, wolves and spiders are everywhere, okay? While some of the cooler enemies like Cruducks and things like that, you don't see, they're very sparingly. but I mean, you are going to see tons of the same types of enemy. So a variety of enemies is something that you really need. You might want to look somewhere else, because honestly, the enemy cast in this isn't as strong as it could be. There are different names for the same enemy, different color schemes for the same enemy. Trolls in particular are the biggest offender of this. You know, you got mountain trolls, rock trolls, you got prismeer trolls. He just runs the gamut. There's trolls everywhere. You will fight tons of trolls. Tuatha, in the later part, when you get over to the other side, where Mels and Shira is, you will fight tons of Tuatha. And you will figure out who the Tuatha are and everything like that, and what they want, which is part of the awesome part of the story. One of the biggest things, and people are probably going to laugh at me for saying this, because if you've watched my rambles, you'll understand why you would want to laugh at this, but cursing and foul language in Amalur is very nearly non-existent, and it's a welcome change. You know, it's not fuck this, fuck that, bastard, bitch, cunt, pussy, snatch, whatever. There is, and I do apologize for the younger audience that just had to witness that, but I mean, come on. It is good to see a game, you know, of this ilk and this quality used where cursing is used very sparingly. I think in the total time that I have spent in Amalur, I've seen maybe 4 to 5, maybe 6 curse words. And there is no F-bombs. There is nothing like that in this game, which adds, honestly, a maturity to the story, because it's being told and emotions are handled differently than with foul language. And I think that's a very welcome change. I think more games need to adopt this style of being able to tell a story without having to swear every other word, and just present a feasible dialogue that, you know, melds with the story, that doesn't have to be coarse or graphic in nature. It opens the game up for a lot bigger audience, and it also, and honestly, if there's parents out there, if their kids want this game and they're watching this right now, aside from the violence and the blood, which you can turn the blood off and things like that, but as far as graphical language, you really don't need to worry about it, because it's nothing major. It's used very sparingly. Like I said, I think I saw a bastard, I saw hell, you know, just very common light words in the swearing vocabulary. You won't have to worry about any F-bombs or any graphical sexual innuendo of that nature. So those are the things that really hardly anybody who's reviewed this game really talks about. But I've heard a lot of people say things about the game on the negative front that I partially don't agree with. But let's go down my list of things that really are negative about this game that need to be fixed and can be fixed through patching and through things of that nature. Honestly, a couple of them you're never going to fix, and there are things that maybe they won't bug you as much as they bug me, but I will give examples of why they bug me. First and foremost, there is too much loot in this game. It is astounding. Even if you get all the bags, okay, you start off with an inventory of 70, you can get 5 bags of 10 each, okay, that brings your inventory up to 130, and you get a storage chest with 155 if you own a house, okay. But if you are a pack rat like me, and I love loot, don't get me wrong, I love finding things, I love drops, I love everything like that, okay, but if I am telling you right now that there is way too much loot in this game, there is way too much, okay. It's astounding how many, you know, and it's common because all weapons share basically similar as well as armor, unless they are of purple or yellow quality. They share a lot of the same design elements, which is kind of crap, but it's understandable, you know. But there is just way too much loot. And honestly, if you're salvaging to make your own stuff. Purple and yellow armor is completely useless if you're not going to use it. So just sell it off, because you can never salvage. You can salvage a few purples. I think I counted 3 total so far, but those purples have to share absolutely no design elements with any other purple of its type or variance. And the things you get off them aren't really spectacular anyway. So basically, the moral of the story is, purple and yellow items, if you're not using them, don't plan to use them, can't get complete sets of yellow, things of that nature, as well as accessories. If you have an accessory and you really don't have a problem with health or health regen, and you get a dope ring with health regen or mana regen, sell it. Get rid of it in the money. You know, it's no good holding on to it. I've seen people say, oh, I need storage because I'm running out of room. I have so many sets of armor. Why are you holding on to sets of armor? You don't need to hold on to sets of armor, okay? Which brings us about to the second point, is like, there is too much money in this game, because honestly there is so much loot. You really don't need money in this game. The only thing that you will have to buy that you don't find commonly are lock picks, repair kits, and, you know, health and mana potions and things like that. I've never been a potion user, so I really don't use like any of the potion types, you know, like fire resistance or things like that, and I honestly never had a use for them in the game as I played through. Fate shifting can get you stuck in scenery. I've had this happen a couple of times when I've had to restart from the last save because I fate shifted into the floor or halfway into the wall, and I get stuck and I cannot get out. This is uncommon. If you're careful of where you fate shift, you will never have this problem. It's just a minor graphical glitch, collision detection issue. But honestly, you know, it's nothing that is game breaking. Because like I said, it only happens very rarely, and if you're not careful of how you're fate shifting. There are some other graphical glitches, you know, things that don't mesh properly. Foreground and background, some areas don't mesh properly. Speaking of fate shifting is way too overpowered. It is too common. You get it too quickly, and it's basically used as a failsafe through all the game, because if you're going to fight a boss, you know the boss is coming. So when you build up your fate shift, you save it. It's an easy solution to 99% of the game. If you become overempowered, you fate shift. You know, you become untouchable, and it's basically just like a walk in the park from there on. I think that fate shifting needs to be re-looked at and redesigned a little bit. They need to patch it, because fate shifting is just, it makes the game way too simplistic in areas that it really doesn't need to be simplistic. Speaking of simplistic, if you have bought Kingdoms of Amalur or thinking of it and play it on easy, you should go play in traffic right now, because honestly, the normal difficulty of the game should be easy, because normal is a walk in the park, and the hard isn't that much more difficult than normal is. The ease of the game, and I understand why probably they did it, but there really was no challenge for me in any of my 220 hours plus so far. I think I died one time, and that was by mistake, because I was told not to touch something or go near something. I'm not going to tell you what, but you'll understand when you get to it. And I did, and I thought, you know, I got cocky. I'm like, well, I can curb stomp anything. And honestly, you can't. So yeah, there is that problem. Difficulty-wise, is very casual. It seems like a casual game almost. It doesn't seem like there's much of a threat or a challenge much of it anywhere. But it is enjoyable to go through and do things. You don't really have to worry about, you know, boring down and carrying tons and tons of restoration items and things like that. There are way too many side quests and tasks, especially for completionists. I am a completionist. I have to complete. If I am this involved with a game, I have to complete it 100%. okay? And I'm telling you right now, there are so many side quests and tasks. I believe my quests completed are somewhere at like 220, and I still have tons to go, okay? The main story, you can flow right through. I wouldn't say it takes any more than 45 hours to complete if you're just playing the main story, but I mean, come on, there are all these quests out there, and you know, you got to do some like for the houses and things like that. And honestly, you can get a castle as a house. You can get the area is called Sea Watch, and with enough effort, you can actually own a castle in the game. But again, I mean, I hate to say it, I really do, but alright, I'm just gonna say there are numerous homes in the game that are available. You guys might have seen my how to get your first house, how to get your second house in the game. Every house only has one storage, and honestly, the monetary properties of which I think there are two, if I remember correctly. I haven't played the game in a little bit, but the monetary properties are completely forgettable. Honestly, the one that I can recall is the arena, most especially. You have to walk up the stairs and you talk to the guy, and he's like, "These are, you know, the prize winnings from when you were gone," and he hands you like 5,000 gold. I've done this maybe 6 times and I just forget about it because I'm making so much money selling off all the loot in the game that I don't really pay attention to it at all. And the other one is the mine, which the mine is pretty cool to run through 1 or 2 times, you know, see what you can come across. But other than that, there is no point to go and collect your money out of these because you're making so much money off of loot drops and selling things that it's just completely pointless. But it is nice for a completionist to have that option. I've seen other people say that there are absolutely no memorable characters in the game at all whatsoever, which is a complete and utter farce. There is a handful of memorable characters. I'm not going to say who or anything like that. The first and foremost is Alan Shear. You should know that just by meeting her for the first time. But there is a handful of memorable characters that stick with you for a while after you play. You know, I still think about some of them every once in a while, and it's rare for me to hold memory for, you know, video game characters for very long. NPCs that offer tasks and quests share a lot of the rinse-repeat content that is basically used as filler to flesh out massive zones. The game world is quite large, but it isn't as large as you think it is. If you pay attention, you're doing side quests and you're backtracking and floor pedaling and all that kind of stuff. If you stop and take a look around, the world isn't as large as you think it is. You're just doing so much running around that it just seems, you know, that it is extremely large. So they load the game up with a lot of the same quest types. You know, it's like you gotta go and help this person in a mine because they got lost, and try to find this person in a mine, and somebody else wants you to go into a mine and mine something, and then you'll find somebody that say, "I got lost from town." I mean, it's just a lot of the same stuff in different areas, and I wouldn't say it's inexcusable. They honestly wanted to make it, you know, as anybody knows, that Kingdoms of Amalur is a starter, a prerequisite. It's not required, but they are coming out with an MMO. So honestly, these massive amounts of quests and filler are just basically to flesh out the world and make it seem like more of an alive place. I do think that it's a little overdone. If you're a completionist and you get into this game, be very, very cautious, because you are going to spend loads and loads of time with this content, and it can get very boring. It can get to the point where you're like, man, I just did this 5 hours ago, and now I'm doing this again in a different area, and it just doesn't seem right. Even on the hardest setting, this game is relatively easy. It's not necessarily a walk in the park, but it isn't anything that's groundbreaking in difficulty. It's certainly not. If you're looking for a challenge, if you're looking for something hard and you're stuck, you know, if you're just a PC gamer and you don't have a console, I would say get Witcher 2, which is an amazing game. It's probably my favorite, you know, single-player RPG of all time. The story is spot on, and the difficulty, I mean, they've added difficulty levels to that game that are just amazing. If you want challenge, get Witcher 2. Avoid Kingdoms of Amalur and just get into Witcher 2. You will not regret it. The final confrontation, which I'm not going to spoil for you guys, it's epic in scope. If that makes any sense to you, it's very epic in scope. It feels, when you first encounter it, it feels like it's something that's just monumental. But once you basically figure out what's going on in the last confrontation, I don't even know how to say it. How would you say it? It feels like a given once you figure out how to navigate the last confrontation, I guess I would say. So it was kind of a letdown. The last boss was kind of a letdown, and honestly, getting to the last boss was far more difficult, I found, through the hordes of enemies than actually the last boss itself. While intimidating as all hell, the last boss is just, it's basically like a baby. You know, it's like you're spanking a newborn or something like that. So the ending, the ending left kind of a sore spot for me. Not necessarily the ending cinematic, but the ending encounter left kind of a sore spot for me, because I'm used to, like, last bosses that take a while to kill and they're just amazing. There are some graphical glitches that are laughable. Very laughable. You can see up here. You see that skeleton? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You'll see it scattered throughout the world. That's the whole foreground, background thing I was talking about. What else? What can I say? Oh, blacksmithing. If you're playing this game and you want a more difficult challenge, you will want to take blacksmithing up to master, okay? But for the repair kits, because it is cheaper to repair your armor with repair kits. But of course, you're making so much money, it really doesn't matter. I guess you could repair it smithy. But blacksmithing trumps even the best gear and weapons drops if master crafted. You will find nothing better than master crafted gear. Once you can, sock it and make master crafted gear, and you start finding flawless materials, and you just make all of your stuff, you become basically untouchable. You're like the Don, you can't be touched. And that's kind of a sore spot too, because there are so many cool looking yellow sets of armor in this game, but you'll never see them because you have master crafted gear, which is very plain and basic looking comparatively, but you're never going to find anything better. That's kind of a sore spot right there, actually, because I have found some awesome pieces of yellow gear that I would love to wear, but I just can't bring myself to, take off my my ebon hand gear that I made myself. So, I guess what I'm saying in the end, let's just close this. Kingdoms of Amalur, honestly, if you're not so amped about this kind of game, but it looks interesting to you, I would seriously wait for a price drop on this game. Kingdoms of Amalur, while it is an amazing experience, and sorry, I'm a little tired. While it is an amazing experience, and it is really, really solid in certain regards, okay, it does have its share of problems. Unavoidable problems. Some are laughable, some are critical, depending on what type of player you are. So I would definitely say that if you are a completionist, you have a ton of content to go through. If you are not, so if you are more of a casual gamer, it will take you a long time to get through this game if you are a completionist. As far as anything goes, I would say that people slam this game unnecessarily, People say that this game is worse off than it actually is. These are things that can be fixed in patches. These are things that can be updated. You know, and with The Legend of Dead Kell, which is coming out soon, hopefully, Big Huge Games has paid attention to the outcries from the public and fixed a lot of the things that they might have messed up in the core game with the expansion. I highly doubt they will. I think you're going to see a lot of the same things that I've been discussing here. So you might be saying to yourself, Game Junkie XL, what would you give this game on a rating scale? Because everybody needs a rating scale. Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give it 7-Up. Not the soda. I'm going to give it 7-Up. That's what I'm doing. Right there. I'm going to say it is a great game, but it is not necessarily a game that you cannot live without. You can perfectly live without this game. You can find other games, you know, if you're looking for, you know, this type of genre, there are other games out there that do this and do it better. But, you know, R.A. Salvatore wrote this, and they had the guy from Oblivion make the world, and Todd McFarlane did enemy and character design. So there is a lot of potential in this game, if you're willing to plow through it to get to it. That's what I'm saying in the end. It is a solid buy if you have $60 laying around. It is very enjoyable for what it is. And if you can look past some glitches and some common enemies and things of that nature, then give it a try, because you can do a hell of a lot worse. So I hope you guys learned something, and I will see you again soon.
Every day I'm shuffling.